A legend has left the stage. A pillar of the Anaglate family has joined his ancestors. Born on 5th May 1935 in Atigate, Anyako in the Keta municipality of the Volta region to Mr. Godwin Kowu Anaglate and Madame Victoria Mai Ajasu, both of blessed memory, the late Dumega David Anaglate was the first of 5 children of his parents. David started his primary school education at Anglon Awamefia LA and proceeded to middle school at Anyako Kpota in 1943 and completed in 1952. He then continued to the Government Secondary Technical School GSTS Takrade in 1953 and completed in 1957 with distinction in all his subjects.
Ajaklechi together, me know the film, the school Anyako. You do give me the secondary school. I never ma, ya the Takrade, Yama again.
In 1958, he gained admission to the Kumasi College of Technology and passed his intermediate BSc in pure mathematics, applied mathematics, and physics with distinction. This enabled him to obtain the Cambridge Overseas Certificate in 1959. Between 1959 and 1960, having lost his father, the breadwinner, at an early age, David had to drop out of school to work to support a paternal uncle who took care of him and his siblings.
Because our father died very early, he became the father figure in our lives, we the siblings. Because I was very young when my father died, I was told he had to stop his university education to come and work and support our uncle in looking after us, as you see. He took very keen interest in our education and wanted us to reach a point where we have to be independent. And I believe we've not disappointed him in that. We are so grateful to him for what he has done in our lives.
Banara mau, anya madala po mam. Ohana na na una terangko. Awogan. Ohana kopo dengwicho. Mai ayo na ibala. Ayo na ibala. Na mai unya na mima.
He worked with the Daily Graphic from 1959 to 1960. It was during which he began a correspondence course and later left the Daily Graphic in 1960 to teach at Bishop Herman College in Pando in the Volta region. In 1961, David passed his A-level exams. He later gained employment in 1962 at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation as an assistant editor in the newsroom. In 1967, whilst with GBC, he gained admission to the Ryerson Polytechnical Institute, Toronto, Canada, where he studied broadcast journalism and graduated in 1968. Upon his return, he reported on the devaluation of the cedi, and with a controversy surrounding his reportage, he was transferred to GBC's Upper East Regional Station. Mr. Anaglate was brought back to Accra in 1970 as a show editor in the newsroom. At the time when GBC initiated a policy of study leave with pay, the late David Anaglate applied and gained admission to the University of Ghana, Legon in 1975 to read law and qualified as a lawyer with LLB Horns, Bachelor of Law, and was called to the bar.
His persistence in learning to go through law school and then to get to the bar. I mean, at night he would come back from work and then take his books, which were quite huge, I remember, and eventually passed the bar in the allotted time.
In 1982, after which he proceeded to the Syracuse University in New York to do a postgraduate course in journalism. Upon his return, he was appointed Director of News and Current Affairs at GBC in February 1982, becoming Deputy Director General, Programs and News in 1989 and Director General in 1992.
Ambassador Anaglate was a quintessential broadcaster. Indeed, he was a Deputy Director General when I was employed, and he rose to become the Director General. He was a very disciplined leader who always demanded perfection. And indeed, broadcasting at that time, GBC was the gold standard, and he made sure that every bulletin was accurate, and he listened to every bulletin. He was a very hardworking leader who demanded nothing but perfection.
He was very strict, meticulous, and would not tolerate mistakes in the bulletin. Everybody was scared of him. I mean, I was one of them. Even those at the top, the seniors, were very serious with their work, and he was a disciplinarian. If you misbehave, you'll be taken off air.
He also showed us a different side of him, especially when he visited the region. In the regions, he encountered us on a tete-a-tete level, where he said that it was important that the regions reflected the nation, because it is the correspondents who are in the region who can best tell the story of the region. And he thought that we should do well not to follow only invited assignments, but try as much as possible to reflect the region.
David was the first GBC staff to have risen through the ranks to the Director General position. His work as a journalist was, however, challenging during his days with the public service broadcaster. On 13th January 1972, Mr. David Anaglate, together with his team, had compiled the 7 o'clock major news bulletin, waiting for it to be aired. But the major news never saw the light of day. This was because an incident happened during which the late Mr. David Anaglate waited anxiously in his office. Mr. Anaglate was tempted to leave his office to find out what the problem was. To his utmost surprise, a few meters to the glass doors of the studio, a booming voice shouted, "Stop! Hands up!" and walk slowly. This was a soldier following him at gunpoint. The late Mr. Anaglate was then marched to the studio only to find the late General Ignatius Kutue Champon announcing the overthrow of the Buzia-led government. David's position brought him face to face with most of the attempted coups at the time, until the takeover of the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. While at GBC, Mr. Anaglate was appointed a member of the Board of Directors of the National Youth Council, and in that capacity formulated a national youth policy and attended international conferences, including Youth Festival of Socialist Countries in Havana, Cuba in 1978. He later became the representative of the Youth Council on the Anti-Apartheid Committee under the auspices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He also was the publicity officer of this committee and took part in the political and media campaign that culminated in the independence of Angola, Mozambique, Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, and Namibia. This campaign took him to meetings in Arusha, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ethiopia, among other countries. He later became president of the Union of National Radio and Television Organizations of Africa, UTNA. In 1994, he presided over its meetings in Dakar, Senegal, and Nairobi, Kenya. He was elected to represent the Ghana Journalists Association on the Press Commission of 1980-82. He was also a member of the National Media Commission from 1993 to 1996 as a representative of President Rawlings. Mr. Anaglate was an alumnus of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, having taken part in its Chief Executive Program in 1990 and earned a diploma. He was assigned to cover the OAU Summit in Tripoli, Libya, which was aborted twice because the Western powers did not want the summit to be held in Libya. President Rawlings appointed him Ghana's ambassador to Togo in 1995. He served there for 5 years. Over there, he worked to improve Ghana's relationship with Togo. Due to his command over the English language, French and Ewe, Mr. Anaglate had easy access to the presidency and the leadership. He strengthened ties between Ghana and Togo, which led to the extension of the time for closing the Ghana-Togo border at Aflao from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. This move helped to reduce accidents on the Accra-Aflao road, since drivers no longer had to speed up to enter Lomé before 6 p.m. as it used to be. While in Togo, he formed the association christened Union Fraternelle des Anglos, UFRA, which met in his residence and helped to allay the fears that Anglos are in Togo following years of political turmoil in Ghana. After the NDC government lost power in the year 2000, he returned to Accra, where he practiced law and wrote features for some of the print media under various pen names. He headed the GBC Past Broadcasters Association, GASBROAD. Mr. Anaglate, also known as Gegleto, became the head of his extended family and devoted all his adult life to the progress of his hometown, Anyako and Anglon. He was a founding member of the National Organization of Anyako Konu Unions, NOACO, formed in 1983 and chaired the organization in 1986. His tenure saw loads of development projects in Anyako Konu, notably the provision of boarding facilities for Anyako Awamefia Secondary School and bungalows for the teaching staff, the advent of electricity to Anyako following the very successful mini Hogbe Festival at Anyako in 1990, which was preceded by the presentation of electrical poles by NOACO and the subsequent electricity supply to the community.
Majeshi Dumega David Anaglate Nye Elaba Makwida Jeshi Be Enye Adochola Ye Anyako Konu Dua Elajijine Eyata Nuhi Anana Abdunanyo Yewu Obuna Dumega David Anaglate Evagbonye Nye Glonyaro Evayi Eye Ogava Echon Banao Enam Eglokwere Unambe A Dejine Na Wako Banamao Awo Amado
Anyako Konu va Dulolo La Ema ta Ano Anyako Konu va Duabangobayi va Akamachio Doma Ye Adokra ha ye nya zima no la no alaba Anyako Konu to fa habobo ika no ani aloli oyo na ba no akua ye nya over zima no la ika vai afi e avara tafa no zia majiji dafa donyo ta
Mangolo Anyako ba crown. Ba viento la Anyako arotri mafia. Mangolo arotri matobo. Ado yo yonam. Ebianamba la kemia la duame maglonene.
His Excellency Dumega Anaglate was a communicant and an active member of the United Church at Teshinungwa and a former president of the Men's Fellowship of the United Church. He was affiliated to the Global Evangelical Church Lashibi Accra and Anyako Konu and Evangelical Presbyterian Church Bremen Mission Anyako.
In May last year, I met this great man. He was at my induction. He had a word with me. He shared bread with me at my manse. He called to encourage me. He is a unifier, a great law society, and Anyako community has lost a great gem.
For the period of 87 years of being in existence, we can confidently say he served, he imparted his generation.
Dumega was predeceased by 2 of his wives and 2 children. He is survived by Margaret Abotivia, the widow, and 12 children.
In one word, I'll describe my father as a friend. We became very close throughout the middle years and the later years of his life. I was with him almost every day. When I was 11 years, that he bought me a book And that was the only gift he brought me from Canada. And it was Aesop's Tales. And that book turned me into a reader and a writer. When I was in the sixth form and felt very ill, he came to me, and he's normally not the very gentlest of people. But for the first time, my father held my hands and told me, "Wisdom, I know you are a fighter. Don't give up." And his words jolt me, and it was like a miracle, because then I realized how much faith and trust my father had in me. So I fought, and I have since become a fighter. I never give up. It's become part of my life. He was kind and very helpful to many. He loved his village, Anyako.
My father is a good man. He trained us how to read the Bible, not to absence ourselves in church. He always encouraged us to go to church. Always wake up at dawn to pray. He's someone who advised a lot.
He was quite a senior member in GBC in the difficult times, I think the late 70s. He would close from work and then put on a coolie hat to disguise himself, and then run his private car as a taxi. And I know sometimes he even took some of his own staff members. But he went through that difficult time, that embarrassing time, and we pulled through, fortunately.
One word I can use to describe my father is that he is a charitable person. He is very generous. I am so much grateful to have him as my father. My fond memory of Mr. Anaglate is that when I graduated from the university, by the time I got home, he has brought the chiefs to honor me. I am so much grateful. He encouraged me to be who I am. I am so much grateful that he educated all of us to get to the stage in which we are.
Anytime we are in difficulty, we call him. Almost on a weekly basis, he will call me and say, "Kwame, why are you not calling? Why are you not, engaging me?" And so it has really impacted my life. I'll really miss him.
He's a disciplinarian. When you are going wrong, he'll call you, he'll correct you. I remember growing up on the streets a few times in our teenage years. We were making friends, and then he said, "Aku," as they all call me, "show me your friend and I'll show you your character." And that sort of stuck with me throughout. So it's shaped how I make my friends.
And for me, one of our fun moments is our trips to Anyako and to other regions. He would play his favorite song.
He'll be like, "There are drinks in the fridge. You can go and take them if you want."
Together with the chiefs and people of Anyako and Anglon, they established many developmental projects. He pursued on behalf of Anglon the regularization of the allocation of lands for the new Anyako township granted to the chiefs and people of Anyako during the administration of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah after the floods of the mid-1960s. He was affiliated to many organizations, namely the Press Commission, the National Media Commission, and member of the Professor Mills campaign team in the year 2000. As a diplomat, he succeeded in preventing war between Togo and Ghana on many tense occasions. He built the present residence for Ghana's ambassador in Lomé. Dumega was selfless, dynamic, and a go-getter. He was a man who loved his family and community dearly. He derived pleasure in helping others, especially the needy.
Gamachu popo for habobo aniedo yenya petro yipa jojo la nyadomia apa goboda ali akhakhia mabobu noga o nui koma aglo yenya ba ewɔ eƒe dɔdeasi abe ƒometɔ ne le agbe amu va me ma adzi be me sia me na asro nane tso David kɔsi Anaglate gbɔ kple susu be mía katã míatso ɖe le ƒomenyawo me.
Elabena nanewo nana me wɔna fifia fi me va kpɔe be enye ƒomehela ale be ɣe sia ɣi edzina be manɔ ye ŋu fifia fi me va nya be ɖewo hiem be mava nɔ ye teƒe. Meda adzɔgbe nɛ be edɔ yi wòde Togo ewɔ ne ƒoma kpakple dua vevietɔ nyako dua ye nye ame kpɔkpɔ ge be edɔ mɔ na yi dzi.
Yiƒe kpɔkplɔ te yi tsɔtsɔ ɖo anafama ɖo ta nye ya nuƒoma enye zimenɔla ƒe kpeɖeŋutɔ ne anafam. Abe le anafama ɖoɖo ma mi xɔna ɖoɖo le gbɔ nye ye ekpo susɔ vɛ mi kɔkɔ ɖui kɔa ne dɔkɔ mi yina gbɔ abe patronwo ƒe tsitsitɔ ne abe patron wɔme 4 le mía si abe patronwo ƒe tsitsitɔ 4 ta mi xɔna ɖaŋu le gbɔ etsɔtsɔ ɖo anafama le.
We are going to miss those youthful Christmas party times that we missed with the family. Having grown, we have also continued to do that. But this is an opportunity that we want to say a very big thank you to him because he was a pillar behind the second generation.
His Excellency Papa Dumega Kwesi Anaglate was admitted to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital on 15th June 2022, where he was treated and discharged. However, on 11th September 2022, his health deteriorated and was admitted at the Lekma Hospital Teaching. While receiving treatment, he responded to his maker's call on 12th September 2022.
Ebia tso Yehowa Zebaot gbɔ be ɔkalɔ eye ɔƒo yoluʋɔ ne wòne fafa ɖe ƒe ewɔnɔ.
May God grant him a path unto himself, so he will rest peacefully in the bosom of the Lord, so that on that day, when the faithful arise in the Lord, he will arise with them.
As we journey through life, we will forever remember you.
You are always in our mind.
So it's time to say goodbye to you, Papa.
Till we meet again, fare thee well, Papa. Heard you.
Rest well, Your Excellency, Dumega David Kwesi Anaglate, also known as teacher, reporter, broadcaster, administrator, and lawyer. You are indeed a legend of our time. Hede Nyue Jujo Le Nyuchi Fafame.